People, friends, fans, and yes, foes. That is one of the ways Brother Malcolm X always introduced or greeted his audience whenever he spoke. Always recognizes friends, fans, and foes. And he being one of my mentors in the business, then I chose to use that line in terms of my introductory statements. But yes, a pleasant good evening to all of you in the viewing and listening audience at this time. It's yet another Saturday, and so you know what to expect each and every Saturday from just about that time, the 6 o'clock hour, when we have this engagement as a people, as a nation, as persons just coming together to discuss issues as it pertains to our nation's development. And these issues can be the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent. It doesn't matter. We speak about them here from a very factual standpoint, knowing that you will learn something, and based on your feedback, based on your suggestions, questions, comments, I too am prepared to learn, and I always do learn something sometimes. So yes, Dominicans, is the 24th day of February 2024, and that is where we got to get going here in the interest of time for yet another Saturday engagement. All of you on the feed at this time, I want to thank you very much for being on the feed, taking time off, that is, because I know you could be somewhere, anywhere, doing other things, but you choose to be here for whatever time you choose to, be it half an hour, 45 minutes, 2 hours, whatever it is. I always appreciate your company. Dominicans, we're going to have another very interesting program. Yes, it's a program. And so I ask each one of you now, make yourself feel very, very comfortable, because we are indeed going to have a treat in terms of information this evening. That is what we do here each and every Saturday. All right. Just to start off, let me just say hi and hello to my friends, especially in the Girardel area. I went up there this week, Wednesday it was, yes, Wednesday, to do some work. And I was told by one of the fans of this program that family, the Have family, they lost a son, they lost an uncle, they lost a brother, they lost a nephew. And so Mr. Michael Have has gone to the great beyond in a way that no one expected, especially his relatives, friends, family. But as I normally say here, we never know that time, we never know the hour, as it were. All we can do is to prepare for that hour. And so the family, the Have family of Girardel in particular, and Newtown by extension, they are grieving at this time of the passing of Brother Michael Have, I'm being told. And so all of you who are grieving at this time, my hearts, my prayers, my thoughts go out to you at this time of your bereavement. And I would want to think all the persons who are on this live feed would want to convey similar sentiments to you guys, and just ask you guys to be encouraged, knowing that it is a very trying time. All right. As I said, this brother passed in a very unusual way, but I don't think I want to get into it now. All I can tell you factually that he passed, and just keep his family up in prayer at this time. All right. For any one of you out there who may be suffering similar fate, the losing of a loved one, be it your mother, father, brother, sister, uncle, whatever it is, a child, whatever it is, we empathize and sympathize with you. Those of you who are sick, those of you who are on a hospital bed at this time, going through some kind of situation with your health, I really, really do empathize with you and ask that healing balm, that is BALM, be yours at this time. All right. I remember now as I speak, a sister who is usually always on the live with us, Judith Cochran from the Cochran area. I made contact with her this week. She is at the hospital as we speak, going through a very, very trying time. So Judith, to you, if you're listening, if you're watching, please be encouraged. And as I told you in the week, just keep your prayers going up and know fully well the blessings will come down. All right. And so similar sentiments to all of you out there who may be going through some trying time, be it sickness, health-wise, emotional-wise, financial-wise, whatever wise you may be suffering at this time. It is time that you be encouraged, knowing fully well that today is today, tomorrow will be a brighter and a better day for you. All right. I know there are lots of folks in Dominica going through very trying times in terms of the economy of Dominica, persons who cannot make ends meet in a very reasonable way. And so my heart goes out to you, those persons out there, persons who have a number of children go to school and they really cannot make ends meet properly for these children, so that these children could be properly nourished, so that they can learn well. I know that kind of feeling is out there. And so if you are one of those parents at this time going through that headache or heartache to fend for yourself and your children, just keep hope alive. There are better days ahead. All right? It is a very painful thing for parents to be suffering on behalf of their children. I know as parents, we can suffer. Sometimes we can take the pain, but it is a totally different kind of pain to see our children going through some kind of pain, and it is as a result sometimes, in part, we cannot do better for them. All right, and so I just hope and pray that things works out for us in Dominica, and that our bitter days we're going through right now, but our better days are ahead of us. All right. To all of you out there, the jobless people, the unemployed people, again, I want to say good evening to you guys. I know it's tough. I know it's rough. Looking for some kind of employment in this country. It is very, very scarce these days. And those of you, if you do get a job, most of you are underpaid. Most of you are not being properly compensated for the type of work, the type of job that you do. And so it is really true that some of you are employed. But like my nurse friend told me many, many moons ago, there are persons who are working, but they can be classified or put into that group of the working poor. And so I know that is your lot, some of you out there, but may that lot not be with you for much too long. All right. It's just a note of encouragement that I want to start on this evening, because I know there are many, many situations out there that many, many persons are going through. And sometimes persons don't have a shoulder to lean on. Persons don't have an ear to attend to their plea or their plight. And I always try to make it my duty sometime just to be that person to stand in the gap for these people at this time. All right? And we are all each other's keeper. So what is happening to one person directly today, it have the propensity to happen to you tomorrow. So you need not rejoice, but partake in each other's pain, each other's sorrow, as it were, so that when your time comes around, then you will have an ear or shoulder to lean on or to listen to you. All right. So Dominicans, that is it in terms of my opening salvo, as it were, just giving you guys some kind of encouragement to go throughout at least the coming week. All right. All right. I will not be going through the list of names tonight, people, because I'm seeing already pretty close to, well, past 200 folks here already. So I'll not be going through the list tonight. All right. But again, thank you guys for being there and share that information. Right. Judith Cochran is there. Judith says, good evening to you, Lofty. Judith, I just mentioned your name a while ago. And so as we spoke in the week, my friend, the good Lord is looking down upon your situation. All right. Yes, where do we start this evening? Dominicans, I want to start with a situation that some of us may forget or may have forgotten. Sometimes through no fault of ours, but you know how it is. I normally like to do the hardest part of the work by going back in the archives so that we can remember certain things, especially as it pertains to history, what transpired to us as a people, especially this black people. All right. It was about 59 years ago. Yes, 21st of February 1965. That's brother. Well, he was born and named Malcolm Little, but his name was changed subsequently to Malcolm X. When he got converted to the Islam faith, he changed that name again to El Haj El Shabazz. All right. So Malcolm X, better known as El Haj El Shabazz, born Malcolm Little, 59 years ago, 21st of February 1965. This very fiery brother, activist for black people and black people affairs, was basically gunned down, assassinated, 17 bullets was riddled in his body. That case is still a wide open mystery, as it were, but it is said from all accounts that the powers that be at the time, that is in the American context of things, this brother was a threat to them in terms of his speeches, his encouragement, his sermons. He's just talking to his black race, his black people, as to their contribution, their important contribution, I must add, to the American economy and how they can do in order to be much more part and parcel of what is happening. But because of those words of his to his people back then, and others, I must add, who were on that mission with him, he was done away with. As the good book says, a king is never honored in his land. Bob Marley said it in song as well. And so this brother Malcolm X was assassinated 59 years ago. That news of his assassination sent shockwaves throughout not just America, but the world. Because of him and other black persons who stood firm for their rights, then a lot of other movements were born out of their stance then, including Malcolm X. And so I chose to recognize and remember the contribution, the sterling contribution, I must add, of this brother, where we as a black people, where we are concerned, we are smack into the celebration of Black History Month, and how timely it is for us to remember the contribution of Malcolm X to his black people. No matter where they were from, that word resonated far and wide. All right. A lot of persons who were there in that hall when he was assassinated gave their evidence, gave their contributions, suggestions, whatever it is they could do in order to try to put the pieces of the puzzle together. But for some reason, when things are orchestrated from the higher ups, then it is much more difficult a task to put the puzzles together, as it were. And so a number of arrests were made, but out of these arrests, based on documentaries and write-ups, not much came out. A matter of fact, nobody ever really paid for the assassination of this erudite brother, Malcolm X. But for sure, his work goes on, his memory will linger on for a very long time. And as a result of his work, then a lot of us can find comfort in standing where he stood and demanding certain things in terms of truth, righteousness, and justice. All right, so long live his relatives, long live his daughter. I heard his daughter gave a very sterling speech last Wednesday. I think it's in the same hall he was assassinated. Some lawyer friends of his still trying to get justice for him 59 years after. But you know how that goes. As I said, once some things are set up by the system, then it is very, very difficult to unearth certain things and bring justice where justice is due. But the hope is that he is on the better side. He lived his life on the better side of life, and so wherever he is now, his spirit is spurring us on to continue in his stead. All right? And so may we never, as a black people, underestimate his work, underestimate his contribution to the cause of we as a black people. All right, Dominicans? So thank you very much indeed. Those of you in the region listening and watching, thank you. Those of you further afield, my commendation to you as well. We move from Malcolm X's situation, and we want to just go back a bit. Last week, I touched on the situation where that situation really opposition leader in Russia. By all reports, he was murdered in the prison cells where he was held on some trumped up charges. So I just want to go back there for just a bit before we move forward in terms of just giving you some updated information as to what came out this week, as to what really transpired Mr. Navalny, Alexei Navalny, that is. This brother again was a very iconic figure in Russia, stood up to Putin, that is Vladimir Putin, that is, the man who has been at the helm for pretty close to 25 years, basically running his people's affairs with an iron fist. And so whoever chooses to stand against Putin, then they know their life is not theirs. As a matter of fact, they're on borrowed time. But as I said last week, Mr. Navalny, he knew that very well, but he had in his mind passed that fear barrier. And so even after being poisoned and revived in Germany, he chose to come back and be among his people where he could continue that fight for freedom. And as soon as he touched down in Russia, he was arrested. Arrested again on some trumped up charges and was thrown in prison in solitary confinement, whereby the prison terms, the prison conditions were not the best at all. And those of you who listened to the program last week, I reiterated some of the inhumane treatment that was meted out to him, in particular in that prison about 1,200 miles away from the Kremlin. All right, and but just to bring us up to speed, in that this week it was punched out by a number of bona fide reporters and networks that even trying to cover up or hide the situation that surrounded the death, or should I say the murder, of Brother Navalny, then there were some things that got leaked, because with technologies these days, nothing can really stay hidden. And apart from technology, there are certain things that must come out. No matter how your oppressor or oppressors think or feel that they can hide, then there are things that will come out. And one of the things that will come out in more ways than one is the truth, the facts. And so one of the things that came out this week is that after this brother, they said from the prison authority, he collapsed after having some walk. It was reported that there were a number of bruises on his body. Some persons who saw that body, a matter of fact, that body of Mr. Navalny was hidden away, even from his mother. His mother was not even able to get his body to lay him to rest properly. And so that goes to show you the kind of cover-up that a regime like Putin regime have on his people in Russia. So even after it is said, it is suspected that the regime of Putin murdered Navalny, whether it was ordered in whole or in part, and in part I mean the treatment that was meted out to him, surely contributed to his death. And well, we know he was poisoned before, that's a fact. And so once poisoned, there was always going to be another attempt on his life. He knew that, he said it. And so it was no surprise to a number of persons Friday last week getting the very unfortunate news that this brother had died in prison. But they tried their best to cover up his body, but there were a number of bruises on his body. That is what is reported from a number of bona fide sources, I said before. And so even the marks on his body, it throws out of the window that very fallacy from the prison authority that this brother just collapsed after work. And to add insult to injury, he passed, it is said, in terms of technology, recording when he passed, when he died, when he collapsed, allegedly. It was about 2:17 Russia time in the afternoon. And what is very striking is that at 2:19, they say the good Lord works in very mysterious ways, wonders to perform. So he collapsed, local time, Russia time, 2:17 in the afternoon, it is said by the authorities in the prison. And at 2:19, go check the documentaries online. At 2:19, the same prison authority was already out with a press release, basically telling the nation and the world, giving their side of the story, how this brother died. Can you imagine that? So from 2:17 collapse, 2:19, 2 minutes after, the prison authority was already issuing a press release. It's like as if that thing was already there and it was just a matter of fait accompli. 1, 2, 3, boom, boom, boom. And so how ridiculous can that be? And not just that, people, to compound that situation now, to make it much more bizarre, at about 5-6 minutes thereafter, his death at 2:19, the Kremlin, that is the high hand organization that runs Russia by Vladimir Putin, was already denying certain allegations that they knew would have been coming their way. 5-6 minutes after, the Kremlin was already out with a spokesman denying their involvement in Navalny's death. Or should I say, in Navalny's murder. How coincidental people can that be? And last week, I drew the analogy whereby what is happening in Russia with its people, where their democratic right or rights are concerned, I drew that analogy as to what we are facing down in Dominica as we speak. And I know based on the feedback I got from you guys last week, whether private or messages, calls, whatever it is, that message, it sank in. And so again, I want to re-emphasize or reiterate that point, or these points, that hey, what the Russian people they are going through, under Putin in particular, after 25 years, we are on the very same trajectory in Dominica. And I paused so that that could sink in. Because just like how Mr. Putin was part of this KGB organization, this spy organization as a young man, learned a lot of tricks in the trade then. And for whatever nefarious means, got into the system of governance in Russia. A lot of persons then had a lot of high hopes in him. Because like all dictators, they normally use a process which is not that hostile to get into power. But when they get there, they turn the tables upside down. Yeah, they turn the tables upside down. And so it is the very same thing that I want us to remember, because some of us in Dominica tend to forget very, very quickly. What's his name? Mr. or Mrs. Viva Mamo. He said, lofty dear, for your own personal safety, leave that Russian issue and Putin alone. We have our own put out to deal with. Well, whoever you are, Viva Mamo, as I said before, and I'll reiterate it again, whatever is caught up in my bones as it pertains to truth, justice, and righteousness, it will not be concealed. It will not be laid under a bushel. Trust me on that. I say it as it is. And I said already, a lot of persons heard me already. That old body of mine, brother or sister Viva Mamo, it is nothing to me. Absolutely nothing. And so if by speaking truth to power, if by speaking my mind in Dominic about what I see and feel is going on in my country, that has to be stifled, it's better the good Lord call me home. But I'm not going to relent. Again, I will say, where the Russians are in Russia, in terms of their rights, are being trampled upon each and every day by the high-handedness of their government. That is where we are in Dominica. The difference between us and Russia for now is that Putin called the shots in more ways than one, it is said. And so if he wants you out of the way, he gets you out of the way. Just like how he got Navalny and others out of the way. A presidential election is due in March in Russia, it is said. And even in prison, this brother, in some person's mind, was even posing a threat to the system. Even locked up behind bars, And that is what we are facing in Dominica. And so when Edison James in Dominica is locked up or was locked up in a holding cell on trumped up charges in Dominica, we are right there. When a number of opposition people in Dominica are being charged with trumped up charges, I am saying we are right there. This house that I am in now, people, this house that I am in now, the police in Dominica took their good head, I am saying under instructions from whoever, and came into this house. This house. And when they left this house, it was a mess. The week before, as I mentioned before, Malcolm X was assassinated, 17 bullets in his body. The week before, his house was firebombed. His pregnant wife had to lay on her children and give them cover. And so if you don't see smoke, there is no fire, and vice versa. And so it has already come home to roost. And I am saying that is where we are in Dominica. Came to this house. I don't like to personalize things. I don't like to speak about my problems per se. But sometimes when I am nudged in that direction, I have to. Don't have a choice. In this house, come to look for shotguns or guns. Said yours truly wants to overthrow a government. Have we heard that word overthrown? How many times have heard that in Dominica? The opposition people, some of them, Thompson, Edison, Sparks, whoever, they are now before the courts for that same foolishness. Talking about overthrow their scary government with a truck. And so these are the facts. I'm not speaking anything off my head. I'm not libeling anybody. I'm not defaming anybody. But if because of speaking the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, the unadulterated truth I normally say, someone decides that voice needs to be silenced, then I give them the permission. Go right ahead. You don't have to answer to me. There is a power you have to answer to. That is how I live my life. I live my life fearing no man. I only fear the one who can take the breath and the soul. But once it's just the body that you can take, that's nothing. That's nothing. And that is exactly how dictatorships take root. You bring a people so far in that their real feelings, what they're going through on a day-to-day basis, it has to be stifled. The human spirit was born free, and it should stay free. Obviously, there are certain parameters with the freeness. But at the end of the day, we all have a choice. And so some persons, some men and women like myself, who want to lock me and lock others in a corner by not giving us a choice, these persons are doomed. What is life without choices? Life without a choice or choices is not life, it is something else. And so when you have these wannabe dictators or dictators themselves taking away slowly but surely the choices or the rights, the fundamental rights of people in a country, the people themselves must stand and reject that very, very forcefully. And so to get back on point, when Brother Navalny was murdered, his body was found with a number of bruises. So that threw it off already as to the cooked up story that they were making as to he just died of natural causes. If the brother's mother, okay, you guys kill him, he's out of the way, he's eliminated. If his mother, you all don't have the decency to at least give her the body of her son to lay him to rest in a proper manner, what does that say? And so where the Russian Empire is, if we don't take stock in this country, in this little country called Dominica, in the rest of the Caribbean region, where we were brought from Africa, it is said, and just spread out on these little islands, as Chuck Dust said, made out of seawater and sand. If we cannot demonstrate our rights, if we cannot speak in very unambiguous terms and tones about the state in which our countries are at, in the region now I'm broadening the scope, then we are no good. We are salt without its saltiness. And so I employ each and every one of us now. Let us wolf something. When you see dictatorship is creeping in, you must, if you're a man, you must have the balls to stand. If you're a woman, you need to have the spine to speak as well. Never ever let a system push you so much into a corner, back you so much into a corner, that your fundamental rights, which are supposed to be protected here on earth by this thing called constitutions, and even in the higher realm by the Almighty, be taken away from us. Now, and so we in Dominica, we need to watch it. We in the region, we need to watch it. America have its own fiasco dealing with. I know if I go into the American context of things, then it will be too topsy-turvy on the life field. So I choose to leave that alone. But, as they say, time is always longer than twine. So whatever is brewing in the American system now as it pertains to governance, then you guys are over there as well. You will understand what time it is soon to come. But I'll not go there. There'll be too much on the plate for now. So because we are not, some persons are not disappearing as yet in Dominica. Meaning, Joe Blow go and sleep tonight, tomorrow he is nowhere to be seen, or she is nowhere to be seen. Doesn't mean if we don't stand upright and reject certain things, that is not coming our way. We have a country, a beautiful country. It is blessed with natural resources. In comparison to other countries, it's It's a gem. What are we doing with it? How are we prepared to execute those natural resources to the benefit of its people? We are seeing now in our lifetime, we are seeing it in our faces. I said it before, the Chinaization of my country, Dominica. And if I cannot say that, as is because it is what it is, then something is wrong with me. If every job on the country or in the country has to be given to a foreigner to come to execute on our behalf, how else can I say it? What else must I say? And this little feeble excuse or excuses that, oh, our people don't want to work, that cannot fly. Dominicans want to work. Dominicans can work. Dominicans are prepared to work. But is the enabling environment made right for that kind of mindset to germinate, take root, and flourish? And I say no. If on a project, Dominicans are not part and parcel of that project, what else can I say? You have these foreign companies, economically they are much more advanced than us. So you see the Chinese in particular, they are coming in with their loaders, their graders, their dump trucks, their water trucks, their men, their concrete trucks, their graders, everything to do with heavy equipment they are coming in with. Chinese don't buy our food. They don't go in our markets and buy fig, dashing, cocoa, yam, plantain. No. They don't support our economy. All they do is take from us as a people under the disguise of a friendship. Who is benefiting in that friendship? Who are the main benefactors of that friendship? It bleeds my heart to see Dominicans are groveling. Dominicans are struggling to make ends meet in our Dominica. And foreigners come in and they are laughing all the way to the bank. It bleeds my heart, people. And that is our reality. And if I cannot say that in my country, then as I said before, the good Lord knows what to do. Up till this day, as we speak tonight, there was a document signed with China when we left Taiwan as a country and moved over in terms of diplomatic ties with China. Up till now, ask any Dominicans, the common man, the educated, or the PhDs, the scholars, ask any one of them, what is it that they know is in that MOU that was signed, that memorandum of understanding? And you will hear the common man babbling. You will hear the working people or the ordinary people, they are scrambling. And you will hear the PhDs, they don't have a clue. And what does that tell you? Watch Portsmouth. Watch Portsmouth in the north of Dominica. Portsmouth. We had a company here in the name of Ross University that did tremendously excellently well for not just the North, but Dominicans by and large. And that company that helped us tremendously, especially in terms of its injection of funds in our economy, it was left unattended. Unattended. And after it is said, the woman said it, the woman who was in charge of some, whatever she was in charge of. She said it. Can't remember her name right now. After a number of attempts were made to speak to the government of the day, all attempts were futile. And so these people, in the interest of their people, their students, their company, they had no choice. After 40-something years of business in Dominica, they had to pack up, leave. You know where they are now? In Barbados. Just an hour flight from us, an hour 15 minutes, or half an hour max. Barbados. When you touch down in the airport in Barbados, like I was there about a month or two ago, the taxi man told me, do you know these little houses? I said, I pretended I didn't know. I said, no, sir. What are these? He told me that's a company from your country that is here now. I said, oh, but I knew. I told him, I'm just cracking up with you. I know. Just on the outskirts of the airport, Ross has set up shop in Barbados and is injecting the kind of funds or even more in the Barbadian economy, whilst we in Dominica, we are left with a promise. And you know what they say that promise is? Someone in the life, he can help me. What they say a promise is. Someone on the live feed can help me as to what they say a promise is. Joining me good. Thank you, my brother. Comfort to a fool. And now the comfort to a fool is coming in. Thank you, guys. That is how it is. Years after, Portsmouth is still in the dark ages. And some of the people in Portsmouth, they are still in La La Land. They are still in a dream world. It's like you have to pinch them to wake them up as to their reality. There was a young lady. I'll not mention her name now because, you know, this program is not about mentioning people's name to ridicule in any way, shape, or form. But I must give you the situation. There was a young lady, very good friend of mine from Portsmouth. When Roosevelt, Austria, and the others came to the public and finally declared to the nation that Ross left, among some persons I called in Portsmouth just to see how they took that news was that young lady. And I'm remembering that conversation like yesterday. I hope that lady's on the live feed now. I say, hi, miss, how are you? She said, hi. I know you'd call. I said, but how do you mean you know I would call? We spoke about the present situation then, Ross leaving. And the young lady finally told me, Lofty, leave us alone in our business. Ross is coming back. Again, I want to repeat. She said, Lofty, leave us alone in our business. Ross is coming back, as the Prime Minister said or indicated or alluded to. I say, my friend, thank you very much for the conversation. We will talk again sometime. I didn't need to go any further with that conversation, because it is like bringing someone outside, bright blue sky, looking up, and you're asking them, what is the color up there? And they choose to tell you every other color but what they're seeing, blue. And so that conversation was, to me, futile after a while. And so, down to this day, Ross, as I said before, is still in the dark. If you go to Portsmouth today, the businesses that have Portsmouth up is far and few in between. I think I saw a name popped across the screen. I thought it was that young lady, but no. So don't look for that young lady now. But I thought I saw a name like hers popped across the screen. Yeah. Go to Portsmouth, daytime, nighttime, afternoon, morning, whatever it is. And just walk through Portsmouth. Just mingle with the people and you'll understand their plight. A brother told me, again not mentioning names, he stood by the market where Rosie House is, the house that is left for rot by the Labour Party, the man who ushered them into whatever they are exploiting today. His house is left for ruins. This brother told me he's standing there by the market and he looked south and he could see as far as Borough Square Pass. And for a good couple time, nobody was moving. Nothing moved. Not a vehicle, not a body. And that is the present predicament Portsmouth people in particular have found themselves. And so if I cannot say that, what else must I say? I'm not talking about now, I'm not even going to talk about the people who were directly in line to make money from Ross as a company. These little canteens, these little businesses, these little persons who did the domestic work for the apartments. And these people, they benefited directly. You had indirect contributions as well coming in. Persons at home would feed their families, and it was just a time to behold. Domlec, the struggling company today that is struggling to keep a light bulb lit in Dominica, Domlec. Ask anybody at Domlec who know and who will talk to you, I guess in private, because they say they want to put out companies matter or matters. Ask Domlec. Ask anybody that know about Domlec and the contribution that Ross company alone brought into the coffers. When Ross left, it left a serious dent in the coffers of the kitty of Domlec. And so some of us believe what we are going through today as a people now. Thank God this load shedding thing has ceased for a while. Let me be very cautious whilst I say that. It has ceased for a while, but you never know. Domlec, Ross leaving left a serious dent. It left a hole in Domlec's coffers. Domlec had to re-strategize, I'm being told, as to how they move forward as a company with the loss of Ross. Somebody were good enough to sit down with me and give me an idea of the dollars, but that person did not want to go on the record, so I need not push out those numbers. But all I can tell you, the figures were exorbitant. Big money. Let's hop across to the Wasco. So that is what I'm talking about, the indirect contributions now, as per just one company. Yeah? And some of us, we are still living in a dream. You're still living in a dream. Now, the Chinese, who are our newly found friends, as it were, the Chinese, they are not taking up no slack in terms of where Ross left us as it pertains to economy. I keep saying over and over, when the Chinese plan as a government, they plan for the next 100 years. And so what we are witnessing in Dominica is part of the planning that was had many, many years ago. And it is now being hatched out in Dominica. So when they're done with us as a people, if we don't put our house in order, as it were, then Dominica, I can tell you, based on how things are going, will be the next province of China. The Chinese, when they come in to build, to do whatever, to renovate, with their sort of really shoddy work, go and look at what they call the DC, whatever they have up there, the hospital. Go and look at the work. Just take a look. Take a close look at the work itself. And if you have a very keen eye for construction, you will understand what I'm talking about. There's construction and there's construction, if you understand that lingo. A professional tile layer can put tiles for you. Somebody can come and put tiles for you as well. A professional painter can come to paint for you. Anybody can come and dab paint on the wall for you. They're both called painters. Look at the State House. For those of you who have the opportunity to go close up front to the State House, the white thing on Victoria Street. You can even stay on the road and see the shoddy work, the poor workmanship. Those of you who have the opportunity to go into the electoral office division, that is an extension of the White House. See those big massive columns they have standing up? Those big massive columns, the 12 by 12 or 14 by 14, or sometimes the 16 by 16 round columns that the Chinese put up on these buildings. From afar, you will think as if, well, or you will feel as if, well, these are some solid concrete, reinforced concrete columns. I am telling you, they are not. They are not. When you go close up, you touch it, you knock it, you will understand what I'm talking about. You will understand the what do you call it, the vigle that these Chinese workers come to punch over our eyes. They look good. The buildings look good. But as Nasio said in song, it is rotten on the inside. They look good on the outside, but they're rotten on the inside. And so these massive, seemingly columns you see standing up, they are basically steel frames standing there. And the Chinese dress it up in their way, like they do with these shoddy little trinkets. They normally come and dump on us in the Caribbean. This food will stuff that before you touch it, it falls apart. Go and inspect one of these columns. These fake columns, I must add. They are just metal frames, so it's metal buildings. And they just dress it up, make it look good, so that you could believe is something solid that you have. Go look at the hospital. The hospital they built on a hospital, or they renovated on a hospital. Go look at the work. Go look at the craftsmanship in there. And I mean, to some of you who don't have an eye for good work, you will, oh, that's lovely. You're passing on Federation Drive, on Lindo Park area. Wow, that's lovely. The paint is looking good. Everything close up. And that is why our planning department now, they have very little to say in what goes on in terms of construction when the Chinese is concerned. So the Chinese come, they put down their weak work. Our planning department, that is the organization of government, quasi-government institution that's supposed to be looking after our interests in that department. They are nowhere close to these job sites. They cannot be close to these job sites. Let me be politically correct here. And so the tale of the no law, no constitution continues. When these Chinese come in, they come, as I say, with their whole entourage. They even come with their cigarettes. And one of the things I've been noticing, I know Dominicans spit, but it seems as if the Chinese as a people, they spit much more, especially the smokers, the smoking ones, the smoking type. And these people spit all over the place. And I'm not telling you what somebody tell me, I'm seeing with my eyes. Give Jack his jacket. They have a very good work ethic that we Dominicans can partake or partake on. 7 o'clock in Roseau, all their little trinket stores, they are open. Whilst you have to be struggling for a Dominican bona fide business to be open at 7 o'clock. All the Chinese little outlets selling their little next to nothing, I call them. They are open, ready to take your $10, your $20, your whatever it is. And so for some persons, that's a lifesaver. So, if it's one thing we can take from them, at least that part of it. Dominicans need to buck up. Some of us Dominicans, we are too lazy when it comes to work. Going any business, in particular a business that is public in nature in Dominica, And go in any business that's supposed to be opening 8 o'clock. And you'll see with your eyes what I'm talking about. It bangs all over. The doors open 8 o'clock, but the people themselves, they are still at bay. Sometimes some of our banks open in Dominica at 8 o'clock. We have what? About 10, 11 cubicles to serve people. And it's 2 or 3, if you're good, that's in operation at 8 o'clock or 5 past 8. The rest are still getting their groove on, as it were. And they'll start to pop open 15:15, 20 past, 8:30. And the bulk of the people are backed up. So that work ethic of Dominicans, we have to do better than that. We can do better than that. It's imperative we do better than that. Because we cannot be crying down the Chinese coming taking over, and we ourselves, we are so laissez-faire in how we do and what we do. Government institutions, they're on another plane, they're on another level. Sometimes 8:30 in the morning, 8:45, 9 o'clock, you will come to visit a public officer, and somebody in there will tell you that person is not in as yet. So that is why I said they are on another plane. When they come 8:30, when they come in 8:45, when they come in at 9, they still have to get their groove on, as it was, so you know another set of time is lost. And by 3:30, 3:45, when you call or walk into that same institution, the atmosphere alone tells you need to come back tomorrow. Because the way they move, the way they answer you, the way they turn, the way they are slow-paced, the way they are snail-paced, you need to, something, ma'am, mister, I'll see you tomorrow, because it is not conducive for business now. And by 5 to 4, the door is shut, sign up, they're out of the door. Again, Dominicans, we have to buck up on that sort of sluggish attitude when it comes to work ethics in Dominica. So where the chips fall, let them be. Coming back to the Chinese, we have 2 more different subjects to touch on, and we'll be out of here pretty soon. Remember, folks, tomorrow, 25th, we are all, those of us who are able-bodied people, we shouldn't have no excuse. We should all be at the arch tomorrow between the 2 bridges, but I'm coming there. So hold on. The Chinese, as I said, when they come through, they come with they just come. Couldn't some sort of arrangement be made with the Chinese, who it is said building something called an airport? The number of them that have been flocked into the Wesley area. Couldn't some kind of arrangement be made with these Chinese in terms of they spreading their wings across the country in terms of, at least, even though they're not eating our food, housing, accommodation? At least that. But no. These people come and they set up their own housing accommodation on site or close to site as well. So that if you go in Wesley, You will see them even breeding animals and rearing animals and whatever it is now. That's to show you how they are well entrenched into their own little space in our country. There are some landlords in Portsmouth. The banks are knocking at their doors ever so often. Some persons, they're very afraid to answer the telephone when it rings because every other call is a bank official asking, when can you come in to pay the interest? Not the installment, the interest. And I am saying, I'm suggesting, some sort of accommodation could be made with the Chinese now to at least the north of Dominica where Ross left, full up some of these apartments down there at least, and pay Dominicans something in terms of accommodation to at least ease the pressure. But no. And some of you are comfortable with that. Some of you are afraid to speak about your very existence now in your country. So where your livelihood is concerned, where your investment is concerned, where your future is concerned now, not even that, some of you guys are prepared to take the bull by the horn and make certain demands. And so, if you are not prepared to do so, what should I know? What can I now do in terms of talking for and on your behalf? What is it? I'm only one body. We are many bodies put together. And like one grain of match, it can be easily broken. Try breaking a whole box of match, put them together and try to break them. That's a very, very impossible task. And that is a lesson behind that, of standing together in unity, speaking, singing, as it were, from the same hymn sheet. Divided we fall, united we stand. Let's move on, Dominicans, in the interest of time. Some of your comments are coming in fast and furious. Let me take some before I move on. Duvini says, the Chinese didn't come to Dominica to spend money, they came to take money. John Alfred says, David Joseph, that's madness. Buildings are inspected every step of the way here. Adelaide Paul says, tomorrow's gathering is to address the Chinese invasion of our country. People have constant demanding what they want for their country. Mary Laurier writes, turn out in large numbers tomorrow. It's time to get rid of this government, period. Anthony Simon writes, we need more brothers and sisters like you. Lofty. Alistair Irish, water, water, water. They take water, the people will stay home to clean. It's my suggestion. Alistair, I didn't get that. No water in your area, Alistair, in Bavay State? Mary Laurier comes back and writes, you think Chinese like to pay? They will live like sardines to get rich. Zaza Angola says, Viva Mamo for True. Lofty Dira for your own. Okay, I guess she was responding to Viva Mamo's comment earlier, but we dealt with, well, I dealt with that. Zaza, all right? Need not to go back there for now, in the interest of time. Mark Dominic says, my birthplace, Posse, finish. John Alfred writes, so they just building without inspections like it's done in the US. Ziska Robin says, exactly. As to what you says exactly for, I don't know as yet. Adelaide Paul says, mobilize for tomorrow, mobilize, mobilize, mobilize. I want to take some new names in terms of some other persons, people. So if I don't read all of your comments, that is the reason why. Shanna George says, Monday Monday, we're seeking out island-wide. Francis Benjamin writes here, well, my friend, to your knowledge, everything that we do in those companies are being monitored by Chinese, not the Italian, not the Portuguese, not the Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, Turkish blacks, and Spanish idea to do manual labor. Let me see here. Let me see. Anitha Adams Bernard says, yep, that's sickening, wasting people's time. Anthony Simon writes, we need to change that mindset of our work ethics and responsibilities. Bazi Cheryl writes, it's time we band together monetarily and build back our country, or build our country back. Without government or bank involvement, enough already. David Joseph writes, Francis Benjamin, what you fail to understand is that the quality and standards used in places like Canada and America is vastly different as far as quality is concerned. Martin John Baptist writes, and the local customer service needs a huge upgrade. Well, yes, Martin John Baptist, I didn't even touch on that tonight, but you know, that is a conversation by itself. All right, so sometime in the future, I'll be touching on that as well. But thank you for your point here in terms of the customer service in Dominica. What I was told many, many moons ago by a businessman, he said that in his country, the customer service is so up to par that is not seen in Dominica, in that he learned that being a customer representative, then you have to be able to take on the attitude of being able to sell ice to Eskimos. Eskimos don't need ice, but if you can get an Eskimo to buy ice, you're on point. Nugent Thomas says, why is Dominica getting whatever it is, even in Chinese construction? Elsewhere, their projects are breathtaking and solid. Alan Pierre writes something here, let me see. Going to a bank in Monday, I think you want to say on Monday morning, and it's only 2 tellers they have at the time, wasting my time. Mark Dominic writes, Wesley Clare has been sold. What a shame. Valmore writes, people, it's time that we open our eyes. Who else in terms of new comments I'm seeing here? I just want to call some new names. I prefer some fresh names because I think everybody wants a piece in terms of their comment to be read. So that's why I'm not reading some of your comments over and over in terms of names, all right? Marlene Schlingford writes, blacks is not a nationality. Larry Lloyd, Chinese like a cancer, and they move like ants and take over everywhere they go. Pat Corbett says, good job on the Ross issue. Pat Corbett, good evening to you. Gertrude Abraham Dejean says, Lofty, very good information. Thank you very much, Gertrude. Jarrell Joseph says, great job, Lofty. Who else we have here? Chiquito Thomas says, Dominicans should have no reason to be in town. Dominicans should have no reason not to be in town tomorrow in big numbers. Ferdinand Lawrence writes, the Chinese didn't just decide to come Dominica. Roosevelt made the agreement, and that's where the focus must be. Roosevelt must go now. Jeffrey Pierre writes, I think we need to get the Chinese, then the government will fall. That is their support system. All right, that one kind of eludes me right here, but I guess you'll straighten that up. Nugent Thomas writes, Lofty, that moral fabric like a 40-year-old rug has been shredded and shredded to nothingness. Jeffrey Pierre comes back here. If you can't take the bull by the horns, then take it by the tail. I like that one. Thank you very much, Pierre. Who else we have here? Dorothy Regis says customer service in Dominica is called Sleeping Serve. That's a good one. Francis Benjamin writes, United Workers Party never give a tin of sardine to Dominican people, not a grain of banana. Dominica people, not a grain of banana, sorry. Tomorrow, all you want them to come to town for police to jump. We ain't going there with that police story. All right, Benjamin? I ain't going there. I choose not to waste time on that police story. So that is not a comment I will entertain at this time. All right? That is hogwash. Mayday Robin says it's time for Dominica to stand. Enough is enough. Let me see if I get some. We have another person sending me some messages here as well, which I will not get into at this time. All right, but Dominicans, that is the gist of the comment here for now in terms of your comments based on what you heard thus far. Let me see the time. 7:30, so we're in good time. We have now, Dominicans, to move our attention to the activity tomorrow. All right, and bearing in mind, as I on that note, let me just say for persons who will be looking out for the Civic Vibes program tomorrow, we at Civic Vibes, the team that is, we have taken a decision to postpone tomorrow's conversation to next week Sunday in the interest of supporting the activity between the bridges tomorrow. All right, so don't look for Civic Vibes program tomorrow, but most likely, if all goes well, yours truly will be bringing what is going down. Oh, Alistair, is water you don't have. Tell Dawasco to bring back the water. Well, Dawasco is hearing Alistair. Let's hope something works out for you tonight. All right? Yeah, but we'll be supporting the activity tomorrow. As I said, that is the Civic Vibes team. And we also want to encourage all other civic-minded organizations out there, civic-minded persons as well, which we supposed to all be in Dominica. Your place to be tomorrow is between the arch. All right? We're going to have a civil conversation. We're going to speak about our issues in terms and tones that we alone can. Nobody can do it for us. Nobody can do it on our behalf. All right? And we're going to let the world know what we have been suffering in Dominica. We're going to let the world know as well what is good about Dominica, because it is a conversation. All right? And so that rhetoric that came out this week, which I choose not to go into about, this Osman Young, that shouldn't be a deterrent. We are coming out in our numbers in any democratic country, which we pride ourselves on still. We may not be totally there, slowly but slowly sliding away, but we still, on the books, if you read, we're a democratic country. And so that is where and why I now need to encourage us for the final half hour of this program to, once you have what it takes, once you have breath within your body, you need to come. Once you're affected in one way, shape, or form, once you're not being properly paid for your work that you do in this country, you need to come. The NEP workers who are working for government, and you are 4 or 5 months in arrears, as it were. They are 5 months in arrears. You need to come to tell your government you need your pay. And you should not be shy about that. Nobody can take your job. Nobody by the stroke of a pen can take your job from you. So don't cower. Don't be backed or pushed in a corner. Those of us who have been paying a rent for Roosevelt Scare with his wife and children for 2 years plus now, pretty close to 70,000 EC dollars, when the ordinary man, as I said in my preamble, cannot make ends meet to feed his child or children, you guys need to come and tell Roosevelt he needs to find other accommodation for himself and his family. We are fed up of that. We are tired of that. A matter of fact, he said that he would have moved out of that accommodation some time back. That time came as his deadline. It passed. And so we're just going to remind him of what he said. And so if it means embarrassing him, as he said, his children are embarrassed when they ask them about where they're living, then let it be. Let it be. But we must put Dominica straight. One man, his wife and his children cannot be sucking Dominica dry like that in terms of living accommodation. And we are left to rot, as it were. No. So those of you from Tarish Pit, from Gota, from Snake-Coo, from Delis, from La Plaine, from Soufriere, north, south, east, and west, of course the center will be there because we are in the city center. We are calling you guys. When you guys have to go to the fetes, I don't say fete, the fetes, because we had a potpourri of them just a while ago, and I saw the numbers. Nobody or very little people had to give you money, had to pay a bus for you to come. You found yourself there. And so what we are going to do tomorrow, it is much more important than a fete or fetes, where you drank rum, you tumbled down, and you had your fun. Tomorrow, it is serious business where country is concerned. So come. Don't make an excuse. There should not be an excuse, as a matter of fact. It is only by you and I banding together, sticking together, uniting for a common good where the country is concerned now. That is what will cut it. Nothing else. And so those little trinkets you have been getting, I'm even been told some of the rogue regime, you know, their little, how you call them on the ground, their handlers. Let me use a nice term for them tonight, sorry. Their handlers. They were on the ground sharing, promising little, you know, whatever it is, as an attempted bribe, so that persons don't show. You guys need to just put that at the back of your mind and come. You need to come. All of you who have been suffering in silence, you need to come. Tomorrow is the day of reckoning, as it were. And this foolishness about whatever will be happening, and we ain't doing none of that. We are doing like all democratic states, democratic countries, whereby the people see the need to stand and they stand. That is what we are doing. Nobody can prevent you from standing. Nobody can prevent you from talking. Obviously, you need to, you know, don't defame, don't libel, don't slander, don't incite. We are not doing none of that. And those of you, if your intent, other than a meeting, other than a peaceful meeting, my encouragement to you is to don't get involved in such. As Patrick John once said, it is easy to tear down. In one of his speeches, when he was set aside by the then powers that be, the agitators back then. He said it is easy to tear down, but it takes months, it takes years, sometimes centuries to build back. So we're not tearing down anything. We're not pulling down anything. What we are tearing down and pulling down is the malgovernance which we have been subjected to for umpteen years. Okay? And so that plot of anything other than a plot to get back our country in the order in which it's supposed to be, that is the only plot we will be talking about. The only thing we will be pulling down and burning tomorrow, it is the facts related to our country. So for sure, we will be burning fire on the government when they said that things would have gotten better, but it's not. We will be burning fire for sure on the NEP workers' situation, that 5 months into working, they have not been able to get paid properly. And some of them, their loans are in arrears. They have late fees attached to those loans. No fault of theirs. That is what will be burning fire on tomorrow. We will be burning fire on the fact that an Indian man was in our country, held against his will. And it is said that some plot was in the making to get that brother to India in terms of kidnapping fashion. So that is a fact. It happened. And that is what we will continue to burn fire on in terms of the governance of our country. We will continue to burn fire on the minimum wage situation in Dominica. That is at the lowest in the Caribbean as we speak. We will continue to burn fire on the tourism sector, that the sites are not in order, but we boast of being a country, the nature isle. That and more we will be burning fire on. That is the fire that will be burning tomorrow, and not what this, which I don't want to get into, talked about. That will not, play into our mind. We have seen that script, read that script over and over and over. And so that is what we want the world to know tomorrow, how we have been living in our country. It is not good where the governance is concerned. The country is beautiful, as I said. It is bright and beautiful with our natural resources, but as to the exploitation of these resources, it is not good. And so for fire, these are the situations that will continually be burnt with fire until we see the back of this government. 20 guys, including men and women, can never or should never be made to stand against an entire people. Never. Never. And so come hell, high water, we have to continue to defend our country. Politicians come, politicians go. The country is here to stay. When I say the country, with the people, we are here to stay. That's it. So all of you who are struggling to make ends meet in that country, all of you who are doing whatever you have to do, illegally that is, to try to make ends meet, then your presence must be felt tomorrow. When you have dictatorships, the only thing dictatorships respond to is people banding and standing together. So if you want to see better in your situation, you better be counted. And so on that behalf, on that note, all of you who already 17-2, all of you who already stood in solidarity by your messages and speeches and voice notes and whatever it is, asking persons to come, I thank you guys. There will be more. I'm thanking you in advance. So the diocese, the trendsetters, and whoever I saw on social media today, yesterday, whatever it is, I thank you guys. We need much more, especially the young people. Young people, this country is yours. You should never let anybody think that this country is not yours. We are already 25 years into a government, as it were. And that is why I want to compare it always, like the regime in Russia. Putin is there for 25 years. We're right there with what passes for Labour Party, 25 years knocking. It came to power in 2000, in 24. What is it? And just like in Russia, the people have not been able to exercise their rights unhinged. They have not been able to exercise their right unhindered. And in Dominica, we are right there. And so tonight I'm not addressing police. The police have their work to do in terms of law and order and peace. That is what you have to do. If you meet somebody doing whatever it is, let the law kick in. That is what it is. But I'm not going to fall for you guys crap trying to intimidate, instill fear into anybody. No. You are Dominican. We are Dominicans as well. And so whatever it is we need to do tomorrow, band together. When I went to Clifton, it's Clifton, Cortez, enough. I saw some, well, not some, but one donkey. I didn't know Dominicans are donkey anymore. There's a donkey I saw tied all the way up in the head of the capuchin, or somewhere up there. So if it means you have a donkey in your backyard, and that is the only ride you can get to come. Those of you, if your scooters going up and down and have their wheel, one wheel so and half a wheel so, take those scooters and come. You should not be living in the vicinity of the arch for you not to be there. And the vicinity, I'm talking, Fonkole to the north, the valley, Roseau South, just come. That should be your place of abode tomorrow from 3 o'clock. Let that be the beginning of things to come. We have had beginnings already, but those beginnings have been flopped. Let us jerk ourselves in that direction, people. And finally, what I want to say before I leave you guys tonight, yours truly for Civic Vibes have reached out to a number of persons in the region. Because what we are doing tomorrow, people, it is not confined to us in Dominica. Some persons will want you to believe that your joblessness situation is Dominica alone. You are this. No. All our situations we're facing in Dominica, there is some kind of bearing as to our jurisdiction in which we live. And so, Civic Vibes contribution tomorrow for tomorrow's program at the Arch. We have made contact with a number of persons, namely activists in the region. And at least 90% the last time I checked before coming on this live have consented to send in via a voice note a solidarity message with what is going down or is set to come down tomorrow. So we are not in this alone. We have persons out there who have heard and they are hearing about our situation, and they too, they have their own plight to deal with, but they are prepared to stand in solidarity with us. So if you want to hear people from St. Lucia, Grenada, Antigua, St. Kitts, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, if you want to hear their solidarity messages, you need to come. Don't let anybody tell you what they said. You need to come to hear it for yourself. All right, people? And as I said, a number of them they have lined up already to send in their solidarity messages to yours truly, and those solidarity messages will be punched on the amplified system that is there, set up so that you can hear other people like yourself talking and standing in solidarity with you. That's it. Somebody asked, what's that? And if I have a drone, no. I'm not in possession of a drone just yet. That is things to come in the future, but not just yet. All right, people. So on that note, let me just read some of your comments, and we will sure bring down the curtains on things here in the next 10 minutes or so. John Joseph writes unity in capital letters. So that means John Joseph will be there, and she means business as well. Janice Jacques writes, people be not afraid. It's more of you suffering than living the good life. No jail is big enough to hold the masses. They can't penalize everyone. Your reward will be greater later. Thank you very much for how you ended that note. So sweet. Later will be greater. That is Janice Jacques. Mali also writes, my brother will be there on my behalf. Okay? Dorival writes, yes, I'll be there. No stopping me. John Alfred writes, as a Dominican who cares about Dominica and want the best for Dominica, we must say when we see things happening. Detush Alfred writes, power to the people in Roseau. Tomorrow, Adelaide Paul, people power. Dave Bertrand, I love you. They are coming for you this evening. Well, my brother Dave Bertrand, whoever wants to come for me, then it is what it is. Life goes on. But that fear barrier has already been broken. All right? Who else we have here? Nugent Thomas says, difference is Putin resurrected a failed USSR to prominence. Dominic Kaipool still quasi. Marshall Lawrence writes, security volunteers all around the crowd keeping watch. Who else we have here? Mary Laurier, good job, Lofty. Carla Guy says, don't ask what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. These words were penned by J.F. Kennedy. All right? Thank you very much, Carla. You think it's me, right? Don't carry it live. Well, I had some thoughts before, but I will be carrying it live tomorrow. All right? That is primarily for persons who are out of state. And I don't know who else will be doing that. Jairo Hector says, I always heard black love to incite black, and it's only now in Dominica I found the true definition what this meant. Detush Alfred writes, God guidance and blessings to each and every one of you who will be in Roseau tomorrow. Anita Adams writes, it should be earlier than 3. Nobody works on a Sunday in Dominica. Who else we have here? Francis Benjamin. How you talk in positive, this is how you go with a movement for a nation, not a political party. Lauren Lestrade writes, Mr. Lix will be there, I'm sure. Gerald Vital writes, after 20 years of rigged and stolen elections, no electoral reform, malappropriation of CBI funds, victimization, persecution, and bogus prosecution, it's time to go. Who else we have here? I need a new name before I shut down things here. Loyalty Benji Lamoff writes, Posse Crew, we will get there. Romancine Richie, I will be counted, God willing. Thank you, Richie, for your presence. Mark Dominic writes, tomorrow is for everyone. Let's be as one. Dana Philbert Peterson writes, I'll be there in spirit. Black woman power. Thank you very much, Peterson. Alistair is on a water roll tonight. Alistair says, water come back dirty and it have a big party in my area, whatever it is. All right. Alistair, please be in the place tomorrow. At least you got your water. All right. Thank you, my brother. Avondale John Baptist says, wake up Dominicans, we are sinking. Walcott Clunes watching from the USA and listening. Who else we have here? Manuel Imper, I'll be with you guys in the spirit and I'll be looking forward to see it on Facebook. Irvin Wayne Rossi writes, count me in. Thank you for your presence in advance, bro. Indeed. All right. And so, folks, that is just the gist of you guys' comments here. If I did not read your comment, I have no hard feelings, but it is what it is. In the interest of time, we have to clear the space. It's 8 o'clock. Just knocking the doors on 8 o'clock. So, Dominicans, thank you very much for your eyes and ears each and every time. I'm going to leave you guys in just a bit